Welcome to Get Back to Work, hosted by serial entrepreneur and author Bob Campana. After building and leading 8 companies over more than 5 decades, Bob knows what it really takes to create, grow, and rebuild a business. Each episode features honest conversations with experienced founders and operators who've done the work and continue to do it. No hype, no theory, just real-world insights for people ready to get back to work. Now here's Bob.
So here we are for another Bob Campana podcast. And today I have a young man that I'm very excited to go on a journey of his life with. His name is Danny Tabera. And Danny met me at a point when in his life, right after I've gotten out of the military and was in Iraq, came to work for me at Redwood Cafe is when we first met. Is that right?
For the most part, it was Afghanistan. And it was about 3 or 4 years after I had got out of the Marine Corps.
Afghanistan, not Iraq.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. So, Danny, why don't you let the viewers know who Danny Tabera is, where you were born, and then we're going to just go on this journey of your life, your military experience, and then coming to work with me mentoring you a little bit through a few years of our experience, and then you going off to come to a point right now where we'll make an announcement later in the show about a rest and reservation, what Danny's got going on, which is really makes us all Papa Bear proud. Okay. So Danny, where does this start? What was your earliest memories after you were porked out of the womb?
Actually, it was with my grandfather.
Okay.
I remember getting in his 62 Chevy, I think it was. And it was his pickup, and we're going to drop off his boat at his brother's house.
And how old were you?
I was maybe 3 or 4. I mean, earliest memory that could pop
in.
in.
And what town was this in?
This was in Modesto, California.
Okay.
And we're going to drop off the boat somewhere in Waterford.
And that's your earliest childhood memory.
I remember looking at Grandpa and not being in a seatbelt and just sitting down and thinking, man, this is cool. I'm in a truck.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember ever not being in a car seat or anything like that. So he was an old Army veteran. I did 35 years in the Army Corps of Engineers.
So your grandfather, was he part of your influence why you wanted to go into the military?
Oh, man. My grandfather had several vehicles he had brought back with him.
Vehicles?
Yes, vehicles. So
like
water
Jeeps?
trucks, Jeeps and water trucks. He was a collector.
Okay.
He had done 35 years in the Army Corps of Engineers, so he did a lot of work and ended up buying property up in Jupiter, California.
Where?
In Jupiter.
Okay.
It's up towards Twain Harte and Sonora area.
Uh-huh.
And so he had a whole collection of things up there. Him and a bunch of other buddies from the Army had a little, I would say, a village out there.
I'm the memories coming back to me. You would go up there. You told me about that.
Yeah.
There was like some farming going on up there.
Yeah, a whole lot of work up there. A lot of different things going on, trying to make adventures happen off the property my grandfather toiled on.
So now, where did you go to school? Let's kind of keep the ball rolling in a like chronological order. So now we're 3. You remember being in the truck with Grandpa, but where did you go to grammar school, high school, that kind of journey?
I went to Westport Elementary, way out off Carpenter Road. I was born and raised in South Modesto, 4 of 6 kids. And my mother, Deborah, and my father, Jesse, very solid and always making sure we're doing the right thing. Struggling with 6 kids, but making ends meet. I went to school at Westport. Then I went to Blaker Kinzer Junior High School and Ceres High.
So at what point did you decide that you wanted to go? Is there any like childhood stories you'd like to share with us? Some experience that happened to you that burn in your memory, good or bad?
We spent a lot of time at the lake. It was just, I remember my father would say, okay, it's a weekend. Where are we going? And we would hop in his truck, and he had a little camper back then, and we thought we were cool. We'd get in the camper and no seat belts. It had a little bed back there. And we'd take a trip out to the mountains, up into Italian Bar Road area. We'd go out to the lake. He'd take us around with frogs and flashlights and catching whatever we could with nets. And then, having
Great
a lot of fun with
childhood.
it. Great childhood. Yeah. Amazing.
Now, are your parents still alive?
My father passed away when I was 16. I was 9th grade summer going into 10th grade. Really rough patch for me after that.
I would think.
He was the breadwinner, so he'd come home and, we'd be like, Dad's home. We rarely got to see him. He'd be working 2-3 different jobs. He was also a big part of the community for South Modesto. He ran several different martial arts classes. My background with my family is heavily in martial arts, I would say. 2 little brothers came out pro fighting from that, and we all love it now. But grew up out of South Modesto. My father passed away, and my mother, God bless her soul, she's such a beautiful human. She just turned 70 on the 7th of this month, or September. And so we celebrated her birthday there.
That's it. Where did you celebrate it?
At her home. Yeah.
And how was that?
It was beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's just a beautiful, we had people fly all the way from Pennsylvania, come in, her sisters. We had people coming from LA, San Diego, just the whole family getting together. It was a beautiful celebration.
Isn't that wonderful for your mother to be able to have that
Absolutely.
experience?
Absolutely. All her grandkids.
And see all of the children and what their lives have taken them on.
Right.
So now you went to high school. You had this experience of going with your father, those memories of going to the lake and experiencing those nature adventures. Any stories about your brothers and sisters that you want to share with us right now that you kind of like remember as a youth thing, that if they're watching this podcast going forward, they might go, why did you tell that story?
Actually. So after my father had passed away, both of my older sisters and my older brother, they're about 7 to 12 years older than then we have 2 groups. So it's the older group of brother and sisters, and then the 3 little brothers. So we kind of split off by 7 years.
Okay.
And they were all out of the house, the older group, when my father passed away. And so it kind of came down to like, hey, who's leading the charge now, as far as, who's man of the house or doing this. And as a 10th grader, I'm trying to manage my 9th and 8th grade brothers into, hey, let's do the right things. And boy, we were rambunctious. We had a lot of struggles and a lot of tribulations during that time. But I remember very distinctly my brothers saying, like, we can do this. If Dad did it, we can do it. Because my father's father had passed away when he was 6 years old. And my dad would tell us all the time, I would do anything for my father to be here. And he would even joke sometimes, watch out, because I'd pay my dad $1 million to spank my butt. So that's, that loss he ingrained in us and tried to say, hey, I'm here. And so I just try to reflect that for
He's
my
with you
brothers.
now.
He's absolutely with me. Yes.
So that's a very interesting thing that you basically have on your shoulder. Your dad's with you.
Right.
And that's, I think we all reflect on our parents if they passed, or, like we want to make them proud, and you have definitely did that. So now you're getting out of high school. Did you play sports or anything of that nature?
I wrestled.
Okay.
I was a swimmer. It wasn't too great, but I was good enough to stay on the team, I guess.
Okay.
I did track for a little bit, pole vaulting. Wasn't great at that at all. I couldn't even bend the pole, but I could keep it straight and manage over I think it was 11.5 feet.
Wow.
And so everybody's like, dude, what's wrong with you? You can't bend the pole, but I was just straight pulling it and making my way over. I couldn't break that. And a lot of the coaches were like, that's so wrong. But, I'm still beating some of the kids that were able to bend it and hop over. It was just, one of those things where it's not right, but it's looking good until you don't have the form down, or, you don't follow the purpose of it.
Yeah, I've never did any pole vaulting, but I have been known to be able to do some miraculous feats in the drive-through line at the In-N-Out Burger.
That's why the lines are so long.
There's some video that you would not believe on a burger retrieval there. But at any rate, we don't want to go any further there. So now we're going to start. I want to kind of transition into I guess it would be more searing memories of you decided at some point, I'm going to join the military.
I had that notion very young. At a very young age, I would watch jets fly over our house and over the countryside, over out in Crow's Landing area. And we just thought it was the coolest thing ever. My neighbor, he was actually the first one that says, I'm going to join the Air Force. I had never heard of the Air Force. I'd only heard of the Army, maybe 3rd, 4th grade. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to join the Air Force too. And we would watch the jets and, they'd come by in buddy teams. One jet would pass by another one and we'd be like, that's me, that's you. But after high school, I knew I had to get out. After my father had passed away for 10th grade, my cumulative GPA for 10th grade was a 0.5 GPA. I had PE and I was going to do good in that. I struggled a lot and I was trying to find balance between school and my home life. And there were so many different things behind the scenes people weren't seeing. That struggle kind of said, okay, hey, look for the better, look for a way out, look for something that could promote a better future. And so once I started getting closer to my senior year, I joined the delayed entry program for the Marine Corps, and ran around with the recruiters, trying to do my thing, trying to figure out if this is a fit for me. And before I knew it, 11th grade had passed. My year was up. I was 12th grade graduating and looking for that exit out. And so I joined the Marine Corps with the open option. Hey, whatever you got for me. And ended up being a 0351 infantry assaultman.
So where did you go to boot camp?
San Diego. Yeah.
And any boot camp stories for us?
Actually, something I'm really proud of. Out of 115 Marines, only 89 graduated, and I was the honor graduate.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you dug in head first?
Head first. I just looking for purpose. I had been training for that physical aspect of boot camp, probably for about 2-3 months ahead, really, really hard. I was running with weighted or leg weights and arm weights and running around the neighborhood, trying to get 2-3 miles in, seeing how fast I can do it. And lots of push-ups, lots of pull-ups, and physically preparing myself because the martial arts background, let me know, hey, if I have a fight ahead, at least try to be ready. And so
it worked.
It worked.
The honor. So now with that designation on boot camp, did that give you any different path in the Marines? Or was that just like, so you graduated from boot camp. What was your first assignment?
Well, I was sent to the School of Infantry. That's on Camp Pendleton. So boot camp's in San Diego and Camp Pendleton's over by Oceanside, San Clemente. And so once I got to that School of Infantry, they designated us into certain areas. Hey, you're going to be the mortarman. You're going to be the machine gunner. Where's all these guys at? Get in the line that falls within your career path. And I became an infantry assaultman. I played with explosives, learned how to roll into C4, TNT, dynamite, shoot rockets, identify tanks, and learn how to do breach team stuff, blowing up doors, kind of the stuff you see with SWAT.
So how long did that training last?
That was about 3 months, another 3 months, yeah.
So then after that training was completed, where did you go?
I went to a unit called 3rd Battalion 1st Marines, the Thundering Third, or more commonly known for us, the Balls of the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And these Marines that had picked me up after I transferred, they were heavily involved in combat fighting in Iraq. And my hat's off to them today. They saw how serious things could be. And so when I got there, they were tough. They were very tough.
Now, when you got where?
To the unit. So it's Camp Horno on Camp
So
Pendleton.
this is in the USA still?
Yes. Yeah. So,
but these guys were
veterans.
Experienced veterans. They had seen battle.
20-year-old killers.
Literally.
Literally.
Our country makes killers, don't we?
We do, but for a good purpose.
Yeah.
I would say most of the time.
So you met these men, you became involved with them, and then you were redeployed. You were deployed, or
my
they were
initial
with them.
deployment.
They
Yeah.
went with you to Afghanistan.
Some of them, I did 3 deployments. My first
You
deployment.
did 3.
Yeah.
So let's start with number 1. Did you go with experienced battle guys when on that deployment, or was it all like greenhorns?
I would say no matter what you do in the Marine Corps, somebody's going to have that experience.
Right.
I've witnessed every unit that I've been to. I've been to 3 different units, and every single one of them has been full of war fighters and heroes. So with the 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, I got sent to weapons company. We did a thing called CAT, Combined Anti-Armor Team. And I was in CAT 2 and we had CAT 1. So there was different jobs. We would have missiles on top of our Humvees, the tow missile systems. We would have machine guns, 50 cals, Mark 19s, and 240s, and just different capabilities throughout the unit.
What conflict was going on at that point that you thought or knew you were going to be deployed to, and the training was going on? Did you know where you were going more or less at the first deployment, or all of a sudden an event happened in the world where now you're game time?
So as far as I can
9/11.
remember, yeah, right.
Was already happened.
Well in. We had already invaded Fallujah, and the Marines who invaded Fallujah with 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines were actually my seniors and my super seniors. So my seniors, that's what you call them now, I guess. But they had seen it all, man, and you can see it in their eyes and in their demeanor and in their conversation that they see the naivety I had, and I was just oblivious to what was waiting. And when we deployed together the first time, it was actually on the 31st MEU to the Pacific.
Did they give you like a come to Jesus meeting before you went to protect you, to basically say, this is the real deal, buddy? There's no fucking around now. We're going into war, and you could lose your life in like the first second that you step out of the Humvee. Where you get that kind of talk, or you already knew it?
That was obvious from every senior Marine I had talked to. They had that come to Jesus look. Like they had gone through that and experienced that and rode through that. And it's kind of like, you see the old battle movies where there's one last guy riding through the fire and the smoke, and he comes out to say, we made it, but there was a battle, and so just looking at these guys and them being the epitome of a battle-born man,
and if I have to be honest, that's one. If you have any regrets in life that I didn't serve my country, it was Vietnam time for me, and I wanted to get a high draft number. I didn't want to go in the military for a variety of reasons, and I never went. But I have a regret, because listening to you speak and knowing you as we continue with this conversation, I have just a tremendous amount of respect and honor for our country to produce men like you that went out there, and you basically walked the walk in a big way. So we're just basically talking about this first deployment. So take us to the day that you knew you're going to war.
So we get back from deployment, and it's giving me chills right now. Our super seniors who had done the initial invasion of Fallujah, it was their turn to rotate into another place in the Marine Corps. So you can't just stagnate in one unit or sit and hide out. The Marine Corps has needs for everybody, so it'll move everybody around in certain ways. And basically every 4 years, you got a choice. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And if you don't make a choice, the Marine Corps will make it for you. So coming back from deployment, we had talked about all their experiences. While we were in the Philippines, while we're in Hong Kong, while we're training with the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force, they're telling us like, hey, this is your vacation, but be ready. And they were instilling in us every
So the Marine Corps,
detail.
you went, this is kind of new. So you went to the Philippines for training? You went to Japan?
Yeah.
What was happening in the Philippines? It was just like going to a base there and getting some training or whatever, or being familiarized with the whole scope of the United States government military worldwide.
Yeah, you could say that. The mission was just to have continued operations with the forces we were partnered with. So we met with the Filipino Marines, some very, very handy and skilled Marines, I would say. And these guys, they were down in the thick, in the jungles, in the heat, in the humidity, in raw environments, and enjoying life, smiling, having fun, laughing.
So you went on maneuvers with them?
We went on maneuvers with them. We spent several weeks with the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force up in Ibano in Japan, Ibano area. Snow coming down, monkeys in the trees, and these soldiers just stoic, man. Very little to say, but lots to show. And
so at that point, when you're on these deployments, the war was going on in Afghanistan already.
Precisely. And
so you
Iraq
knew
was still dragging.
It's going to be, there's going to be a call and we're going.
Yes. And
you
we
knew
were reminded that all the time. We could just look at our, the men who went before us and who are still serving with us in whatever capacity. They were alongside us and we could see it. Like, hey, they're relaxing here, but inside they're worried for us because they know this is their last deployment and they're going to send us off. And I remember a very particular quote from one of my favorite Marines. He said, "You're a new guy. It's my turn to die for you. It's not your turn to die. It's your turn to experience and learn and survive." And seeing that and hearing that let me know, okay, hey, this is what I have to expect after this deployment. Because this very next deployment, I'm
pretty
also
serious.
Right. That's very serious because we were also getting put in charge of the new Marines who were coming one cycle behind. So we had our first float, our vacation in the Pacific, full well knowing we're going to be in charge of Marines going into Afghanistan. It was a very, very solemn day. The day we all set out and waved goodbye to those men who had trained us.
So you were in San Diego?
Yes. So back at
and
Camp
then
Pendleton.
They put you on a transport.
Yep. We rode buses to the airport. I believe we flew out of Riverbank or Riverside, excuse me.
Where did you fly to? You didn't go direct.
No, I think this one we flew to Alaska and then to Kyrgyzstan or Kuwait, or we flew. There was a few different places in between, but we ended up landing in helicopters like, I would say, 4 weeks later in a barren foreign land with Marines who had dust on their faces, dust on their rifles, this look that they had been through it and seen it, and they're ready to go home. And I just remember touching down. It was dark, nighttime. We were in a CH-53, I believe.
Sea Stallion, big helicopter.
Big helicopter. And then we landed at one base, and then we got picked up by Ospreys.
What?
Up by the Ospreys, and dropped on another base. And when we landed in those Ospreys, it was even more dirty and more dusty.
I can barely hear
you. It was even more dirty and dusty and barren. And, you go from these metropolitan, San Diego, Southern California things to airplane to a foreign country that has less, and then to a country that's barren. And when we landed, the first thing that scared me was the way we landed. That Osprey bounced. So it had some type of brownout as the rotary wing was landing, and it was a loud boom, and we felt a jerk up, and it landed again, and we didn't know what was going on.
Those things fall apart. Ospreys.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cases of that. There's a lot of different reasons I think that happens. I think they're phenomenal vehicles.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. Huh?
Yeah, and they get up and take off.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be in that than a CH-53. That's just my personal preference. I don't know if it's the cool looks and the faith I have in the looks, but
so we're in Afghanistan. you're getting culture shock and a reality check like no other you've ever had in your whole life.
Right.
And, well, the first battle.
So
Your first exchange with the enemy?
So the first thing that had happened was on May 1st. We had Jeffrey Johnson and Kenneth May, our brother platoon. So we're Cat 2, they're Cat 1. Basically, we both rode around in vehicles, securing areas. It was a section of vehicles each. And those vehicles were manned by gunners and assistant gunners who would feed ammo.
Like on patrol.
On patrol.
This is in Fallujah? No, it's not Fallujah because that was in Iraq.
Yeah.
So this is in Afghanistan.
Yeah, this is in Helmand province.
So you're out outside of civilization. You're out patrolling in the nature not going into villages and towns and things of this nature.
Right.
And interacting with the local people.
Yeah. So I remember we were actually driving to do a small resupply to a little bit bigger base, a forward operating base, a FOB we would call it. And at that moment that we're about halfway between our base and another base, we get a call over the radio that, hey, our brother platoon's being attacked. There was a IED explosion. And so we turn around and we start hauling back, and we're going super, super fast through the desert, bouncing up on these MRAPs, brand new vehicles, mine resistant, I forgot what it is now, but it's basically an anti-mine personnel carrier. You can see them. They look like big Jeeps, newer, upgraded Mad Max Humvees. And we're headed back super fast, rolling through the desert, bouncing up and down. And we just got a call to like, hey, halt, stop your convoy. We're going to set up security areas and make sure nobody's passing or escaping. And we had 2 angels that day, very close friends. One of them was
passed away.
Both of them had unfortunately passed away. They had stepped on a huge IED, left a crater about the size of this room in the road.
Now, you go to boot camp with those guys?
I did not, but
you knew him though.
I knew him. So Sergeant May, he was a very articulate and God-fearing person. He'd always pray for us, and he was one of the Marines that, while the super abrasiveness and the extremely rough guys, when they would be getting to me or getting under my skin, I could go talk to him, and he would be a balancing factor.
How long were you in Afghanistan when this incident occurred?
It's about, I believe, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah.
So the game on now.
It's game on.
Reality was completely,
absolutely,
that day switched it.
Absolutely.
You heard stories, but this isn't no stories now.
And actually, now taking it back before that, this was just my first experience heading into a possible battle. My brother platoon had already gone through a 4-day firefight with the Taliban where they're outnumbered 4-1. They had CBS reporters embedded with them. And I remember one of my sergeants very specifically saying, a lot of guys went in boys that day and came out men. And these guys had to contemplate what had been going on. My timelines may be a little skewed here and there, but that initial firefight was the welcoming party from the Taliban to our forces, to weapons company. And
the Taliban knew when the rotations happened and when new guys came in, and they would know. Now, one of the things that's very interesting to me when you came back, I got to jump a little bit. You learned their language.
I did.
Now that is not common. The soldiers do not learn to speak the Afghani language.
Well, and that was one of the.
Now that's Farsi or what is it?
It's Pashto.
Pashto.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you learn that? Who was your mentor? Who was your teacher on that? And Are you fluent in it, or you just, or you did interrogations, I'm assuming.
I did a lot of different things with that skill set. So the Marine Corps and the Department of Defense had initiated a plan where they wanted to be more efficient in having dialogue with the local populations. And what they had come to do was gather a bunch of Marines who are going to Afghanistan and see which ones had the aptitude to learn languages fast. So I think we took the TABES and the Nelson Danny or some other language aptitude test. And these tests were several hours long, just saw how you read and managed through language. And they picked the Marines who scored the highest.
How many guys got scored?
I think there was like 6 guys out of like the 25 or 30 that tested, and they were already pre-selected that group, and then they just kept going through, weeding out and figuring out who's
narrowing it down.
Yeah.
To where it got to 6.
Yeah, and so
did you have an Afghani teacher? Or
yeah, so it was actually on base. We had a woman teacher, and she immediately said, "Hey, this is something that's positive and good for me, and maybe back home I wouldn't be able to do this." And so she had a lot of insight into the culture. She's born in Kabul and raised in Kabul, and then worked with several different groups and agencies, and somehow made it into Camp Pendleton, teaching us a bunch of Marines. The first thing she says is "Assalamu alaikum," and gave us her name, and only spoke to us in Pashto for the first
So now
full class.
you learned the language before you were deployed.
Yeah, so they had.
So I was just catching that. So you were selected. You knew you're going. So now there's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
okay, so then at that point it's like so when you went, that's kind of a leg up, because you know the local speaking and everything, they don't know who understands their language or who doesn't.
Right. That it's a lot of times we would just play coy and act like we don't know what's going on. I would listen to our interpreters also.
To see if they were being accurate and honest. Yes. Was there janky interpreters from time to time? We had interpreters from the State Department all the way down to locals that were from that village or from the local area. Uh-huh. Obviously, you know, their reputation would hinge solely on how well they interpreted. And we had several instances where that's not what I said. Why are you smiling when I'm saying that? You know, this is more serious. Why are you saying, okay? And then you told me you just said all this. But they didn't know prior to that when you called them out, right?
Yeah, no. And there would be several of us just listening. The Marine Corps also has a very, very skilled set of Marines in the radio battalions. That's all they do. They just screen and listen for any radio traffic. But on the ground, it was up to us and the local nationals there that were translating for us. So had all kinds of different experiences with that, man. I could run through a few, but we would go
give us one that stands out.
Oh, man. So I don't know how this story is going to come off, but we were doing a vehicle checkpoint, and vehicles would come up and down the road.
And you're checking for Taliban, bombs, contraband, whatever.
Yeah, whatever we had been trained on. You know, you see a wire sticking out of a car. Hey, that's suspicious. In a third world country, it's common practice. You know, so you would see a lot of people making ends meet with what they had, so it wouldn't look so conventional. And you would see, like 10 people sitting on a Toyota on the front of it, and then another 15 people in the truck bed standing up on the way to work. And they're just picking up people from the villages as they go that they know, making their way down the road, kind of like a little local bus or, Uber. But we had gone through and we're checking, and I just remember there was this gentleman. He didn't quite fit the bill of the locals. We are already well acquainted with who lived where, and we had been into their homes, asked them questions. What have you seen? You know, what are some of the traffic you see coming from outside of your village, coming in? Some of your concerns. We had talked with them. Well, there was this white Toyota Camry that had pulled up and stopped at the vehicle checkpoint. And I look in and I'm like, all right, there's a wire hanging out of the glove box, normal. But the guy's, his material culture didn't match the material culture of the people around us, so to speak. So his beads were different. His garments and his hat and his beard was just a little bit trimmed different, you know? And so something just said, hey, I'm going to search the car. So I told him, motor banke, Lutfan Datorasha, like, turn off your car, please come over here. And the man was like, no. And I was like, all right, let me say this one more time. Maybe my accent was off, you know? Maybe he's coming from somewhere that, you know, he doesn't understand this language. He's like, no, just shaking his head no. And I was like, you understand me, you know? And he, in plain English, says, I'm from Philadelphia.
What's that?
He said, I am from Philadelphia. So instantly, that's the last thing he said. And instantly my brain is just firing at 1 million neurons per second, right? There are all kinds of things going on and trying to figure out what just happened. Did that guy just speak plain, perfect English to me and then claim he's from Philadelphia? So, one zip tie later and a burlap sack over his head later, he's going back to base. About an hour later, my tail is tucked and I'm going back to our little vehicle control point with that man in our vehicle, apologizing to him. I guess that was his hot phrase or his hotline for, hey, this is what I'm going to say. And when you report this back, it's going to get reported up higher echelons. And then that catchphrase is going to get me released. So he was working for some, from what we've heard, the CIA, and just being able to understand the people with the classes that we had got before we deployed and understand how to peer into the local culture and differentiate from foreigners and not, even though we're major foreigners in the game, we became familiar enough with the locals to make those decisions. Hey, this isn't right. Something's not sitting right. And a lot of people made fun of me for arresting a CIA guy. And it was a really scary thought
Could have
process.
went the other way, though.
Yeah, there were so many different things that went through my mind after that. And still to this day, wondering where the truth lies. You know, like, hey, what's, you know, not my
Something was going on there.
something's going on, but they needed a lot of, we were just running the first elections for Afghanistan. So we needed everybody. We needed everybody we could get. And we had Taliban fighters running freely through our area of operations and living in our area of operations. So every last agency that was there was a godsend.
So that deployment, how many firefights and how long were you there? What was the duration of the visit?
We're there.
The deployment visit.
So in the local area, we had several stops in between. I would say 3 or 4 weeks, acclimating and getting used to just the general Middle East, I guess. And then on the back end in transport, I'd say it's a good 4.5, 5 months in the area of operations where we're meant to go do all our missions.
What was a typical missions? What were they trying to do? You just to go out and make your presence, or you were going out trying to find the enemy? What was a mission's purpose as a general rule of thumb?
So there were patrols to contact. There were
patrols to contact.
Yes. So you go look for a contact. We're out here. We know you're out there. Let's make contact. And in other words, combat is going to happen. There's going to be a battle or something. Many of them were presence patrols. Other ones had more investigative means, like, hey, let's go ask these guys what happened here. And we'd have shuras with the people, which is little meetings. It's Pashto for meeting. And we'd have the village elders and all have tea and talk and see what their demeanor was and how it worked out. But the general portion of us just being there was, it was going to be a static environment. There's going to be a lot of things happening. And
so that deployment came to an end.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're going back to States.
Right.
So take us on that first return home. So now that's the first time after deployment you've seen your family. I'm assuming you get leave. You were able to come back to Modesto. What was it like to experience life now after you went and saw that part of the world and that conflict? It had to a major change in your outlook. Or no, I don't know.
Absolutely. I lost several friends.
You're talking when you say you lost them, they were killed.
Yes.
That you went to boot camp with? When you say friends, but these young men, you ate bread with them, you knew them, and they were lost.
It's kind of like.
Did you know their families?
I'm very, very still close with their families now. We actually, on the 26th of this month, and Thursday, I'm gonna fly down or drive down. I haven't decided yet, to Houston, Texas. Myself and a few other Marines have organized a graveside gathering and a 15-year reunion. So we're doing this for ourselves. Many of us haven't been to the grave sites, and for the families to show, hey, your family's sacrifice, your son, your brothers, your father's sacrifice means the world to us.
And it still honored their lives.
And we will do that till the day we die, because we're grateful. A lot of good men went through a lot of physical and spiritual and mental changes at that time. And having those guys who were extremely proficient and leaders of men lose their lives meant a lot to us. So coming home. And
now, how often is this reunion? Every 5 years you guys do it, or annually? Or
we've done a few. I believe the first one was our 10-year reunion, and then we've been in between, back and forth. We showed up in Colorado. We showed up in what was that? Michigan for weddings. Like there's just a lot of people trying to get together. And hey, you have a brother. You may not see me. You may not talk to me, but I'll pick up that conversation as if we just got off the phone.
Now these get-togethers, you went 3 deployments, so there's 3 groups.
Precisely.
You have three different distinctive groups of brothers that you went to. So how long did the Marines keep you in the States and then decide you're going back?
So
now, did you request to go back, or is it like non-op, you're going?
It depends highly on where you're at in your career. If you have enlisted in the Marine Corps, your first choice, you're most likely going to get it if you have the scores and make all the requirements. So when you first enlist, it's your choice for the most part. When you re-enlist, you have the choice to change your job or continue doing what you're doing. It's the one time you get to change your career designation. And so
how many times did you re-enlist?
Just once. It was,
but you went on 3 deployments.
Yeah. So on my second
deployment. So the second deployment in your first enlistment.
Yes.
Okay.
And I re-enlisted in Afghanistan in Helmand province near the end of our deployment there. So I remember they were giving out huge bonuses. All I heard was one of the sergeants yelling, $92,000 tax-free.
How much?
$92,000 tax-free. And this was for...
To re-enlist.
And this was for an 03-52 anti-tank missileman. So this is the guys that shoot the sabers and those wire-guided missile systems. And so their bonus was $92,000. And I was like, let me go see. Let's see what mine is, you know? So the machine gunners, I forgot what they had. Theirs were in the tens of thousands. Mortarmen, I believe, were a little over 10,000 or something like that. So I'm seeing the ranges and, you know, the far right and left lateral limits of that pay incentive. And so once I looked at like, okay, hey, what do we got for the 0351s? The infantry assaultmen were technically a dying breed. So they were the Marine Corps had been trying to phase out this particular job from the infantry and have engineers and different Marines do it than having organic infantrymen be strictly in charge of that job. So I go look and it's like $3,000. And I'm over here like, that guy is getting nearly 6 digits and I can't even break 4. You know, like, okay, cool.
But you still did it for $3,000.
Yeah, I did because I actually had a conversation with one of my favorite Marines. He was my mentor. He's super solid guy. He's a sniper in Bosnia. Was on Soldier of Fortune magazine, front cover, just solid man. And he had told me, you know what? I know you have kids. I know you're going home to your newly born daughter. She'll be born, and I'll get you home before she's born. And he said, and I know my son wants to join the Marines. And he had been a recruiter before. He had done all kinds of things, but I had immense respect for this man. This was his pitch. Don't let my son come in and not have the caliber of Marines you had. And I know if you stay in, my son's Marine Corps will be a better place. And we had talked about family. Me and him primarily talked about family.
That's pretty powerful.
That is very powerful. And I told him I would sit on it. And because the timeline was coming up to either do it in country and receive tax-free or go get taxed once I do it back there, back in the States. So it would have been even less money. And at some point I sat down and talked to myself and to my God and reflected on all the things that I want for my life. And I knew based off my personal experience, it wasn't time for me to leave yet, that there was more I had to continue. There was more I had to.
Your job wasn't done.
And I wasn't done enduring what had happened at that job already. And so I didn't think going out into the civilian world was ready for me.
They didn't give you any extra money for speaking Pashto?
No, there were incentives. So when I had just got out of class, I was able to read and write it, and speak decent enough to where I can get made fun of by the locals, but responses and answers would come from them. Other people, they would just get shied away, like, nah, you don't know what you're saying. And, just shut them down, hard shutdowns. But the pay comes at certain echelons and degrees of knowing the language and being able to, can I fully read it? My vocabulary wasn't there.
Yeah, it's limited.
Yeah, very limited and mission-oriented vocabulary.
So you're home. You're basically told you're going back. You were ready now. You knew what was going on. Was there... Well, not that I don't know how anybody would be excited to go to war, but maybe people are. I mean, maybe guys are just like so gung-ho. They get that adrenaline rush where they just love being in the situation, that their burning desire to be a part of it. I'm sure there's guys like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are hardliners for living in that direction and staying in the fight and protecting their brothers, and that's what they know best, and they exceed at it.
Those guys end up being lifers, I'm assuming.
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them get out and start successful businesses, and unfortunately, a lot of them will get out and find means to end their life. So you have from successful CEOs,
from successful businessmen to homeless,
to successful businessmen who would commit suicide too.
To what?
Who would commit suicide. So
Yeah.
all different levels. And rest in peace to all my brothers out there. There's a lot that they go through, and you might not see the fight that's happening behind, their closed eyelids or behind the facade that they're putting up.
Nobody really knows in any person's walk in life the burdens they carry.
Precisely.
You don't know, and the life experiences. So I can see in your voice right now the memories coming back of some of your friends that died.
Yeah.
And you don't think of it very often, but you're thinking about it now, and I can see it in your eyes how the pain is there. So it's never going away. It's always going to be
Precisely.
a part of your life. It's part of who you are.
Right.
I mean that. So the next deployment, was there any monumental things that happened there that are notable that we can talk about?
So there was a choice, like I had said earlier. They said, here's your chance to do a career designation change. And when I was re-enlisting, I said, I want to explore my options. I don't want to come back to combat. I was not one of the Marines who wanted to come back to combat. I was one of the Marines who wanted to come back to my family. And God bless those men who do that. But I had found that our mission in Afghanistan was the Hearts and Minds mission. So at that time, it was hearts and minds was the term and the phrase we used anytime we asked what we're doing here. So trying to open my heart in a place where the mind is just battle hardened. There's a lot of struggle there, trying to figure out, hey, am I going to go back a battle hardened Marine, or am I going to come home and start looking at the avenues of egress from the Marine Corps itself? How can I make my way out slowly or do the right thing? So when I had re-enlisted, I asked for non-deployable. I said, it's the only condition. I don't want to be deployable. I don't want to go on this next deployment. And they said, okay, we'll give you, you'll stay doing what you're doing. You'll stay in the same job field, but you're going to be instructing it now. And so I went teaching. Instructing.
Oh, instructing.
Yeah. So I went and for 2 years was a 0351 infantry assaultman instructor at a schoolhouse over on Camp Pendleton. So what we would do is we would get all these units who are in between deployments or finding ways to improve their capabilities. They would send their Marines to us. We would instruct them everything from rockets, explosives, basic infantryman tactics, the whole 9 yards. And I spent 2 years doing that. It was a really good time. I got now that chance to see.
But in those 2 years you were there, how did your memories of your first deployment affect you?
So earlier you had said, I don't think about it often, but now I'm speaking about it. Those Marines, I think about it all the time. I just don't speak about it ever. And it's one of those things that us men do. We carry that burden.
I didn't mean to disrespect.
Yeah, no,
you. Think of it,
no disrespect.
because the thing is, it's just like a person that would lose a child.
Right.
You wouldn't speak of it. But it never goes away.
Never goes away. Precisely.
So when I met you, now can we jump to that?
Absolutely.
So you're getting out of the military, but you were broken.
I was absolutely broken.
And tell us about that, because you were instructing, you were doing that. You hadn't been redeployed, but I'm thinking these memories or what you went through on your first deployment had basically done their work. They burrowed into your psyche.
Right.
And they basically made it to a point to where you were dwelling on it and you were broken as a person.
Right.
And you went from being a Marine that was in charge of men, instructing them to go into battle.
Right.
To a busboy.
Right.
Now that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
When we hired you, or did Lorna hire you, or who hired you?
It was Paco who brought me on. Rest in peace, Paco. Yeah.
Who's passed away
Yes.
since then. our chef. Paco brought you on as a busser.
Yeah.
Why did you take that job? What was going on there? That just blows my mind to hear that now. That
Yeah.
I know it now, but you know, it's just like so. We hear how build men, you know, be in the Marines, and you know, like when you get out, you're going to be. And they had done the exact opposite to you.
Right.
They had broken you down to a point where you were wallowing in indecision and worry, and you know, like
Precisely.
so. How do you think you got there? And then when you decided to, was that time your lowest low? Like when you were a busser?
I've had a lot of lows.
Yeah, I know you have.
A lot of lows. And I would say financially, it was my lowest time. I was scraping by on the GI Bill. I was going to college, trying to pursue an English degree. I was picking up every job I could. I was a paid tutor at Modesto Junior College and helping English students. I would tutor right in the library. And I was absolutely lost because I had this framework of what I was supposed to be. This, you know, solid, unmoving, this is what we need you to be. And when I had got out, I didn't know what I needed to be anymore. I just know I needed to be a
Your
father.
identity was gone.
It was gone. And I didn't even know what I could be. I went down the pipeline of academia saying, where can I find my career? And so while I was going busing and going to school, so I'd go to school in the morning and bus at night. And then on the weekends too, and pick up tables, and clean them off, wipe them down, and bite my tongue a lot when somebody would say something smart or disrespectful, and just let them know, like, hey, you're getting away with it now with a smile, you know. And
because most of your coworkers at Redwood had no clue of what you had gone through.
Not initially, no. Once they opened up to me and saw, like, hey, you know, I can have a conversation, because it was a hard time for me. I was very shut off to the outside world and to anybody's opinions.
So then you met me. I'm kind of like prancing around there like some kind of like who knows what's this guy all about? And I'm building a custom home, and I go, you want to make some extra money?
I remember that day vividly, Bob.
Tell me what happened, because I don't.
So it was a Mother's Day brunch.
Okay. And that was a big deal at Redwood.
That was the first one I believe you had, right?
And how many people came? 500?
I didn't get to see the people because I was busy running these huge trays of boiling hot food straight to the what do you call those?
The chafers.
Trays. Yeah. I couldn't even, I could look at the crowd, but I couldn't even imagine.
There was a lot of people.
It was. I was dodging around them. Like, excuse me. People just looking at me like, oh, I'm going to stand here and get my, you know, fruit salad or, you know, whatever charcuterie board toppings they wanted. And I'm just standing here like, excuse me.
Yeah, the general public.
On the inside, you know, I'm burning up like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah.
And I remember, and I come up and tell you want another job or what?
Well, this was, we were closing down in the evening, and you just came up to me, and I had known your name, but I don't think I had officially shook hands with you or anything. You come up to me and you go, do you know him? And I go, yes, sir. Mr. Bob Campana. And you go, all right. And you said you had been watching me for the day, and you liked how I work hard and I just focus on work. And if you asked me if I had any skills outside of the restaurant, which I thought was a compliment because I didn't think I had skills at that time.
What's that?
I didn't think I had skills at that time. I was just doing what I was told, you know, run in the kitchen, chef yells, food's out. Run in the kitchen, prep this on the knife, you know, hey, you need to make this syrup or you need to make this dressing. And I was just doing what I was told. And I think that's what what had caught your eye. I was just doing what I was told, so it looked like I knew what I was doing, you know. But I was trying to do it with intensity and speed, so I could help the operation.
The task at hand.
Yeah, exactly. And you said, "Hey, how would have you any other skills?" And I was like, "I did drywall." And you're like, "Okay. Well, I'm building a house. How would you like to, in the mornings, come and work for me? You don't have to stop working in the restaurant, but in the mornings, if you'd like, you could come work for me." And I had thought about it because I was like, all right, school, work, and work. And I was just at that time where I was deciding my next classes, you know, and I tell myself, work. I need to work because I'm scraping by financially. Every last tip that one of those servers or the bartenders would give me literally meant food on the table. And I was like, all right, well, school can be put on the back burner for now because I'm not surviving financially. And that's going through my head as you're talking to me, you know, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. And I remember just walking up first day to your house, pulling up, not knowing where to park, a huge lot and so much going on, all kinds of other laborers there. And I thought, I don't know if I belong here, but I'm going to try my best to fit in. And met some really good skilled craftsmen, welders, carpenters, electricians, and each and every one of them had told me how you helped them. And I knew it could be a way for me to continue succeeding for my kids.
See, at that point, I had decided to take you on,
Appreciate
that. To grow you and heal you,
yeah.
And when you decided to come on with that, it was, guys, this is emotional for me too, because I have 4 daughters. They have a son. I saw Danny as just an amazing young man, and for him coming in, and my whole life, I basically tried to be an example for young men and mentor them. And I didn't know that all of those guys had shared that with you, that every life I had touched was to bring them in a positive direction. So now you're working both jobs, and that lasted for a year and a half. And there was another guy that was working with Sammy. He was Sammy was great. Sammy was from, where was he from? Like Guatemala.
Yeah.
And he was kind of maybe a gang kind of guy, or like,
he's gone through the struggles too.
Yeah. He's gone through a lot of struggles, and we brought Sammy on, and Sammy was great too. He was hard worker, and
he wanted to provide for his family.
Yeah.
And that's where me and him bonded.
You hear from Sammy anymore?
Yeah. So I just talked to him about a month ago. Invited him over to my house.
Where does he live?
He's in Fresno right now. Yeah.
Is he still construction? What's he doing?
He's doing restaurateur work. So
no way.
Yeah. So he's still prepping and cutting and working away in the restaurants. Yeah.
Well, I like to talk to Sammy. Absolutely. It'd be great to hear from him again.
And his body he always shows it off. He's super cut right now. He's probably doing 1,000 push-ups a day or something.
Really?
Burpees. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it.
Yeah.
Because he always tells me, "What do you look like?"
So what work did I give you? What did I start you working on?
Initially it was, hey, let's mow these lawns. Let's weed eat. Do you know how to plant flowers?
Was the house finished? It wasn't finished.
No.
We were landscaping.
Yeah. But the very first job I remember,
because we were putting boulders, rocks in the front yard.
I came with Miles, and you asked us to clear the, what are those big purple plants? They have those milk thistle, right?
Oh, milk thistles.
They're 10 feet tall over here.
Oh, Mark's worked on those too.
Yeah.
They had the weed eater on that.
Yeah. So
it was kind of like the initial test. Could this guy hang?
Yeah.
Go clean.
And so I remember me and Miles looked at each other and we go, hey, what are we going to do? And it was probably, a stretch of 40 feet wide by 300, 400 feet long of just weeds and bugs and spiders and dust and dry milk thistle. So we looked at each other and we're like, all right, well, here's the tools we got. We had the hula hoe, we had shovels, all this. And I was talking to him. I was like, there has to be a better way. After like 4 or 5 hours, we're sweating, trying to get it all done. Not even a dent, maybe like 5-10% in. And I was like, this isn't satisfactory. We need to have this done today. And he looked at me and just laughed. We are not getting this done today. And I was like, there has to be a way. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring a machete tomorrow. And I was like, you got one? He's like, yeah, I got something I can use. So the next day we come, you had to say, hey, good job, guys. Just, clean it up, leave the stuff there, and come back at it tomorrow. And I was sweating, thinking you were going to be very disappointed at our work. But the next day I show up, I have a machete, and Miles comes out with this $200-$300 samurai sword he bought offline that was super sharp. And he's like, I'm killing everything. And I was like, all right, competition on. And I tried to keep up with him with the machete, but his sword was literally so sharp. He was like, he was a ninja. We're out and we're like, hopefully Bob doesn't see us. It was kind of like this samurai sword right here, man. It's just, he was, okay, you want to try it now? He's tired from swinging, and I was like, all right, let's go. We're hacking away. And I think we got to 40% done just with the swords. And I was like, man, this is so unorthodox. If OSHA were to see us, they'd be like, what are you guys doing? Sword fighting out here like kids. It was an amazing time. Man.
So I gave you all different types of jobs. What different jobs did you work on in the house?
Oh, man.
So you worked with John Olson.
John's one of my favorite mentors.
Yeah.
Got a lot in common with them. He was also a Marine.
He was a Marine?
Yep. Served in Vietnam, and very, very glad to come under.
My brother-in-law.
Yeah, very glad to come under his tutelage and learn from him.
Were we doing any improvements on Redwood Cafe at that time? Like doing any work there? Was that all finished?
There were little things going on, but I don't think I had the construction experience.
Yeah, but I remember you learned how to run a Bobcat.
Yeah, that was all here. Yeah. You trusted me with your house, and me and Sammy, as well as RG, we kept trucking away here. And I thought those were the craftsmen that were working on the restaurant were way out of my league. I thought they were just fantastic and skilled, and they had years behind them, decades actually. Curtis, John, the electricians you had, and I was like, hey, maybe one day I'll get there. I didn't know it'd be like a year later, you know, but it was because while I was working in your house, we'd see you come in and like, all right, are we doing everything right? Yeah, we're good. Hey, is that nail sticking out right there? Or, are these screws? And you would take the time out of your busy day and schedule to show us what you needed and why. And that's what made the difference. Any boss can say, hey, this is what I need. It's the why that builds the acumen, that builds the experience, that builds the know-how. You can tell them how, but the know-how comes with the why too. So that's where I learned. I would have never learned how to change a Bobcat tracks, skid steer tracks without you telling me, hey, do this. You know how to do it? No, I can drive it though, but that came with it, the territory and learning all the skills as well as the expectations.
Was I still building pools then? I think RG and I were building a few pools.
Yeah, we had.
Did you ever work on any pools?
I did. I believe there was an area out in Oakdale we had prepped, and maybe Waterford, but that was well after I had done satisfactory work here, trying to make sure I'm good, and I didn't want to put forth a bad product, even though I knew, hey, cement's gonna get poured over these rebar.
But you worked on the house until it was finished.
Yeah, when I got here, I don't even think this building was finished. The house was 2x4s. There was no walls. Took us
like 2.5 years worked on the house.
Yeah, and
almost 3 years.
I remember Everett. He had said,
Everett. Yeah,
I had seen what he had done with sun tie for your columns and the big beautiful stonework that they did. And Everett had told me like, hey, dude, like this is where you're gonna learn. you're going to learn skills that nobody else is going to teach you. And it's going to be because Bob's going to be right there watching you and telling you. And I was like, all right, well, for now, I'm just going to copy you, Everett, everything you're doing, because he had already had that experience.
So this journey is going on. You're working at the restaurant. You're becoming part of a community, which is the restaurants are so cool because they've got this family. Yeah. The group that's together, it's kind of like controlled chaos, but it's like, it's a social network. Everybody's enjoying it. Like, I love the restaurant business. It's so, you got two aspects. For me, I've got my employees and the work and everything that's going on to build the restaurant and the food. And then you got all the customers. Right. And you made a lot of good friends with a lot of our customers. Absolutely. over time. The regular customers got to know you. You got to know guys who were in the military that basically, and you were coming out and becoming stronger psychologically then.
Yeah. I was, when I had first started, I had started at Surla's Cafe. John Surla had hired me. And that was through Gar's approval from another food runner's recommendation. So a food runner recommended me.
From Gar? Gar
was like, okay, we could use you, go here, run some things. And then I had met John Surla, and I had realized what a little bit finer dining was for the local area. And I had started, at first it was really rough for me. Some of the patrons, a little bit more talkative or commenty than they need to be sometimes. And I just, all right, bite my tongue, chin up, head down, however you can do that, and just trying to dodge whatever conflicts I thought I was getting in, whatever, because everything was a conflict to me when I had any opposing forces. Whether it was in a conversation or in finances or in work, I was just like, why is this conflict happening? I've been through worse, but why am I allowing myself to zip my lips? Shouldn't I be saying something? And so once I got to learn a lot of the people's lives who had gone through their own trials and tribulations, customers, bartenders, other workers.
I'm trying to think back. You did several jobs at Redwood.
Yeah.
We're talking about the restaurant work, not the work on the construction, which is another whole set of. Yeah. So you're learning all this stuff. I'm sitting there throwing the kitchen sink at you.
Yeah. So prepping, I really learned to prep under Paco. And I think that was where he's like, hey, Danny, you want to come work at me at Redwood? And at that time, I was like, I don't know if I want to go back into the restaurants. Let me go check out where you're at. Right when I drove up, I was like, oh, yeah, I could work here. Beautiful building, beautiful landscaping. Even the people who were working outside and inside were content and happy and satisfied with where they were.
Different than where you were before.
Yeah. And
so that's like, as a boss, I have to create an environment that is conducive to a good vibe, and that good vibe translates into the way that the customers are treated, and they can feel it. It's just like when you went there, you could feel it. You could feel this vibe that's going on. People wanted to be there. They were proud of it, and they were on a mission to do something to serve the community.
Right. Yeah.
And you picked up on that, said, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah. There is a feeling in the air, like there were bigger things happening here. I remember you would come through the restaurant. Hey, you're doing such a great job. Pats on the back, compliments. Hey, I really like how you handled this. Now get back to work.
That's me.
Yeah, that was you. And
GBTW, baby.
Yeah. So I remember that, and that's from years ago. And all right, I like this. I can do this. Like, it wasn't just condescending, or there was never a time where I felt like, wow, I'm not valued here. I always felt valued and
but the restaurant business has limits.
Absolutely.
The limits there, you usually have transitory workforce to a certain degree. The people coming and going, they're using it as a stopgap job, which is what you were using it for, initially. But you were learning for. So now you went through the restaurant, you helped me build a custom home. which gave you all of this plethora. You work with masons, electricians, plumbers, steel tires, all of these different people, welders, and I'm designing and pulling this shit out of my ass all the time. And everybody's just like rolling their eyes, but they're making it happen. And the house came out amazing.
It's beautiful.
And now you get to a point where your wings are gonna spread and you're gonna go out into the world and do different things, and you're gonna leave Bob.
Yeah.
So that was like what, like decisions. 7-8 years ago?
That was in 2018, 2019, maybe.
Now, you have a family at this point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Just then your children. You're out of the military.
Leaving the military, I had 4 children. And
you had
with my wife, yeah.
With your wife.
Yeah. And so Jasenia had been my high school sweetheart, had gone through all the changes the Marine Corps had put us through, and then was trying to adapt back to civilian life in her own sense also. And as a family.
So you're a busser with 4 kids.
Yes. I had said I was struggling financially.
Yeah. So the thing is that getting the job on the house was helpful.
Yep.
But now we got you on your feet. You got yourself on your feet. I'm not going to take credit for that. You got yourself on your feet. You basically took these skills over like a 4-year period where you learned construction, this, that, and then you went into hazmat, or what was the first job you took?
Yeah, it was a crime scene cleaning.
Scene cleaning. Okay. How do you find a job like that? Was that like a Facebook posting?
No, actually it was a, what's that? Indeed. I think it was Indeed or something like that. Or, there's some, I don't know where, it was somewhere online. And, I was like, hey, I have learned a lot of skills from the men around me. And they're like, hey, have you ever, start your own business, look into something, start your own lawn care services, landscaping, painting, anything. And for some reason, I hadn't had faith in myself that I can run my own business. So I was like, let me venture out now. And it was hard leaving, and even thinking about leaving the comfortable nest that I had found myself in Redwood.
But there's a time.
There's a time. And just how you had said, spread your wings, I thought, what can be a big next step? And so I had looked at maybe 200-300 different jobs, passing them over. Just not for me. And there was this really weird one. It was for 911 hazmat cleanup out of Ripon. Great company, amazing owners. And they had said, hey, we want to take you in for an interview. And I was like, okay. So I showed up, and they get, what experiences do you have? You're in the military. Cool. Okay. We can always use guys like that. Very veteran friendly. And then they asked if I had any construction skills. I told them, if you only knew. There are things that I would call them skills, but probably my boss, maybe not. He'd say, what are you doing? And so they picked me up, and I remember looking at Sammy, who was my partner. I was like, hey, pareja, in Spanish, how he would always call me. And I said, hey, man, I'm going to another job. And he's like, no, what are you doing? This is where men are made. I was like, I think this one's more of a vocational calling. Like it's crime scene cleanup. It can lead into, some other things. And he's like, what is that? And I explained to him, hey, if somebody gets murdered or
and
killed,
they paid good money, didn't they?
They did. They paid very well.
Yeah.
Great incentives. The travel was good. Never put us in a bad hotel. It was well done. Very well done.
How long did you do that?
Did about for 3 years. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All through COVID. And that was challenging because
now we're talking about people that blew their brains out and there's blood all over the wall and stuff like that.
yes.
That's primarily.
Yeah. So it was biorecovery. And so what we do is
like clean up like meth labs and shit like that.
Meth labs, hordes, giant hordes where you walk into a door and there is things piled up to the ceiling, and you have to literally
Hoarders.
like just like the TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that it's one of the great companies in Northern California facilitating those types of cleanups, and we would do crime scenes of all sorts, murders, suicides, a lot of unfortunate events, fecal cleanup,
So
everything.
when you got to the crime scene, you kind of found out through what happened.
Yeah. So it'd
Yeah,
be sight
everything you
unseen.
would know what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd be a lot of times, hey, sight unseen. There was a smell coming from here. The property managers or the sister of the man who lived there or the daughter of the woman who hadn't been answering her phone came across their family member deceased or, their tenant. And then they would say a coroner came, swooped up the body and took off.
So now I don't know what you want to talk about it, but you separated from your wife for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you had these psychological issues. You're working your way through. You got 4 kids. Yeah. Did you have the next one yet?
No. So
then you separated from your wife.
Yeah.
That was kind of rough.
You
were kind of like wild guy, man. You're out there running around doing all kinds of. You wanted to live life like your youth years. You didn't get to go out there and play around, right?
Yeah. So, and that was part of the struggle with college I was going through. When I had gotten to college, there was a different form of structure. It was more like express yourself. Tell us what you feel. Tell us what you think. Especially in English, a lot of the essays to write, a lot of the composition you got to go
left
through.
wing shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
But a lot of things like that. And
how were you taken in the college system as an ex-Marine? Just
arms open. They have
no problem.
No problem. Everybody like, wow, listen.
You kind of hear some people are against the military, but that wasn't the case in your case.
No, not at all. At Modesto Junior College, they have a great veterans group, and it ran by veterans. They have a lot of different programs. Arms open, wide open. One of my elementary school friends, it was a counselor there. I believe he still is.
So when you're on this journey of your life and you separate from your wife, this is kind of like you're still in turmoil psychologically.
Yeah, I did.
Well, look, can we talk about that a little bit as to what your thoughts are going on? It was the military thing coming back on you, or there's like haunting, sadness, depression? What was going on?
Yeah. So coming out after I had become an instructor, I went back and deployed one more time, and I knew.
You what?
I deployed one more time after I
You went back to Afghanistan.
Yeah, so I went twice to Afghanistan.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go. I'm learning something new. So now you're an instructor. We basically leapfrogged to working in Redwood, but we kind of missed out on the second deployment to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back. What happened there?
So when they had told me I was leaving my instructor cadre to go back to Afghanistan.
Now, but I thought you had this agreement that you didn't have to go.
That was 2 years non-deployable.
2 years?
2 years non-deployable.
But you signed up for 4.
Yes. So
which they kind of like left out and you kind of like ignored, or you knew it, or what?
Precisely. So I tried so hard to dodge Uncle Sam when he was coming in to knock on my door, because my buddies who had done the same thing, who were also instructors there, were like, ooh, I've been here for 2 years, 3 months. I've been here for 2 years, 4 months. And then boom, the door opens, they get dragged out. You're going to your unit, buddy. And so I was like, all right, cool. My 2-year mark's coming up. Nobody's saying anything. Oh man, no. Knock on the door immediately. Right when my tenure at the division schools, it's called, in Camp Pendleton. Right when it was up, buy the paper. Hey, come see the career planner. And I was like, no. Back door, I was trying to already get myself in the aviation field and try to find some way not to stay in the combat infantry. So not to keep moving
What kind
forward.
of control do you have over that?
None. I was just trying to figure out anything. I was desperate.
So you're back in the desolate desert with a weapon
Right.
Like protective gear on,
Right.
running patrols.
With the Marines.
And knowing what the fuck can happen now.
Right. And
it's a completely different deal.
Precisely. And with the same unit that I had trained as one of my courses. So they had this exceptional standard of me. They had this image of me that, hey, he's going to do great. I'm still over here, 23, 24 years old. I know some of these guys
are not going to make it.
Aren't going to come back. And so at that time, I had a whole
which is what
revolution.
When you showed up, those men knew.
Yeah.
And you could see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
And now you know.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's it feel like to lead young men and know that is going to be the outcome? I don't know that it's something that you can verbalize. It's got to be just a heavy
it's humbling
burden. And maybe that's why they put it on 23-year-old guys, because
you'd get some slack back from the guys who've had life experiences. They'd say, no, hold on, let's think about this first. I was just gung-ho. And so when I went back, when that career planner had told me, guess where you're going? All right, let's see. Camp Pendleton, I'm here. What unit am I going to? Oh, nope, not Camp Pendleton. I was like, oh. He sent me to 29 Palms to finish out my 2 years. And so I did my whole workup in 29 Palms in the desert, Southern California, dying, physically, mentally, spiritually barren area. Now, knowing I'm going back into war, full well knowing.
So I gave you this job, one of the last jobs you did for me. Do you remember that job?
Which one?
Put the camera up for my hawk nest.
Oh, yeah. See, I was wild cowboying it right there, man. I had a rope and some foot spikes and a harness.
Where did you learn to climb like that?
Just myself.
You never had formal training in the military?
I had tricked you, Bob.
What's that?
I had rappelled before, and I held some of those skills. Like I can rappel down, but climbing up and 80, 100-foot oak tree, riparian oak tree, Oh, man.
You were smack talking me.
Yeah.
See, because I thought he could do it. So the thing is that I've got this hawk, right? And I'm watching with my binoculars, and this hawk has this nest, and they're putting eggs in it. And I want a video camera for my grandkids to show them this hawk. I see him online. There's the hawk.
Yeah.
It worked for I don't know, maybe 2 days.
I went up there twice, Bob.
Yeah.
With minimal skills.
But then you basically, no more. Well, no moss, baby.
I think the hawk was recognizing the threat in there. But when you say you had this hawk, Bob, the tree top had a hawk. You had your eye on it. And I had to learn to know anywhere you set your gaze, we're probably going, boys. So just like the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And so when I had got to that point of deploying again, especially with some of the Marines I had taught as an instructor, hey, this is what you should do. They had this idea that I was solid, and I knew I wasn't solid. I knew I'm human. I'm prone to error. And so I did a lot of soul searching, and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to clean up my act as many ways as I can. And so I stopped using nicotine, stopped drinking alcohol, stopped cursing, and stopped eating animals. Everything, 100% vegan.
Yeah, you have gone on those tangents.
Yeah.
The health thing. I can remember that.
Yeah. And they still
my temple is my body. Oh no. like there was special this over Twinkie packages.
Got to say no a lot,
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be spiritually prepared to answer questions those Marines may ask me in hard times, as well as ready to pass on to the next life if I'm called.
And how long did that deployment last?
That was another 6-month deployment. And it wasn't as kinetic as the first one.
Less involved. Did everybody make it home?
Yes, everybody made it home.
Wow, that.
Yeah. One Marine, he at least from my company, he did sustain some injuries from an IED blast. And very good friend of mine also. He has a hell of a sense of humor. And I haven't talked to him in a long time, but we would shake dice together and gamble and hey, dollar, when we'd be out in the middle of the desert, 29 Palms training. We're not supposed to do that stuff, but we'd always shake dice together. And then I remember seeing him after that. After he had got back, he had lost his portion of his hand and his ankle, I believe. And I remember him looking at me, and I, give him a hug. And I just go, "You still got some dice in your pocket? You still got a hand?" And he laughed, and but that's what we were preparing for, loss. And thankfully, we didn't have heavy losses like my first combat deployment.
You still scarred for life?
Yeah, absolutely. And so coming home and transitioning and trying to listen to
the
my
military
heart.
doesn't really do anything for you in that regard, do they? Or
They try.
They say they try.
They try.
What do they try and do?
So they have vocational rehab programs. When you're getting out of the Marine Corps, they say, "Hey, did you have a skill before you came to the Marine Corps?" Yes, 17-year-old me was a professional prodigy welder or whatever, And so they say, "Hey, we'll send you to this welding course and we'll help you find a pathway there." And they try to do some prep, but it's nothing the institution can do to stop loss, that brotherhood going away, that family going away, that understanding of life and death imminent, and our relationships are everything. When the institution tries it's an institutional approach versus a very personal approach. They do have lots of doctors and the VA and all these things, and you'll hear a whole range of stories.
As a rule, do you find them helpful or no?
So I personally still have yet to go talk to the VA. I have my VA home loan that I helped secure my house. I have.
Now, were you able to use your VA to buy a home?
Yes.
So that was a benefit.
Yeah, 0% down. Had 0 down. I would probably still be struggling to figure out where I'm going to buy instead of buying my dream home. I'm 4 blocks from my mother's house, small neighborhood surrounded by orchards.
You've been in the process of remodeling it.
Yeah. So secure that
what's going
VA
on
loan,
with that? So now we're kind of jumping to home ownership and all of that, but there's a gap there now. You went to hazmat.
Yeah.
You're reacquainted with your wife.
Yeah. So not at that time yet. So I had gone through.
Did you actually get a divorce?
We actually got a divorce. We divorced and went our separate ways. And it was one of those things where I wasn't fully divorced for a long time. I was, we were just separated, waiting to do our divorce, whatever was in our hearts and minds stopping us, or legal aspects. But as my wife and I were going towards divorce, we knew, okay, hey, this is the end, And so we started seeing other people. And for the most part, I thought, hey, maybe this is my second chance. This is my chance to figure out what I want versus just following traditions. And
so you figured out you screwed up.
Absolutely.
And so how, maybe take us through the reacquainting and recording your wife. Was she receptive to it, or did she have enough of you?
So while I was getting my stuff together and internally working on being a better man, and versus just a man looking for the next pleasure center to be activated, as I was going through restaurants and construction, great workers, but there's also the afterwork sides.
Temptation.
Yeah.
A lot of pretty girls in the restaurant business.
A lot of pretty girls. A lot of
after parties,
machismo men. Like, hey, are we going here after? And so I had never experienced that. I had drank with a lot of Marines in a lot of countries. And
well, I know my you never saw me there.
No. That'd be kind of cool.
I just want that for the record.
And so, I don't think I'd be partying if you would have showed up, Bob. I would have had a little bit more straight beeline towards success than, following what feels good at the
Maybe
moment.
I should have showed up and kicked your ass out of there. Huh?
Get back to work.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going through all these struggles. I drop out of college. I'm securing a career path in some type of construction. I knew it had to be in something in construction.
You like construction because you're outside. You like building things.
The physicality of
Yeah.
it, you know, and at the end of the day, sitting back and saying, I'm pleased, and then seeing whoever wanted that built or made.
So as this is going on, Redwood, this and that, how did I affect you and how did I mentor you in a way that was effective?
Oh, God. You're going to pull out the heartstrings here, Bob.
What's that?
You're going to pull out the heartstrings here. My experience with men outside of the Marine Corps in mentor-mentee positions, it didn't exist. I never had a solid mentor that I can say, okay, hey.
It was never a formal mentorship.
No, absolutely not.
I never formally said, I'm going to mentor you. What I did is I knew I was doing it.
Yeah.
You didn't.
I didn't. It took me a lot of realizations to realize that, and to come to that conclusion, like, hey, this was not necessary for Bob's life, but it was necessary for my life, and he implemented a lot of changes and guidelines. You know, you set the left lateral limits and the right lateral limits and said, if you can operate within here, you're going to survive and you're going to succeed. And I would be hearing that from the other side of the fence, you know, like, oh, I better scoot back over here while you're talking to me. And yeah, I tried to self-medicate myself through whatever means I thought at the time were best or whatever was available. There was a lot of things, turmoil going on in my family arena. I was not making the money I needed to. I remember consistently arguing over, I'm not going back to college. It's not making me money. And now looking at an English teacher versus a guy putting in an electrical or digging pipes, why would I continue my English degree? And it's still something I'm planning on doing. It was just,
but you've got this other job
all these
coming.
Changes, right?
Yeah, things are changing. So the thing is that I was like, in a lot of ways, just an example to emulate, or what?
No, you like I said, you
nobody
set up the
wants to be
guidelines. Bob.
I mean, that's not.
Yeah, you said that, Bob. There was just my father wasn't home. He was buried. And so I didn't have the chance to have a.
In some way, was I a
gentleman.
father figure to you?
In a lot of ways, because I remember when I would show up to work and you would smell the alcohol beaming off me from the night before, or you know, the weekend before, whatever bingers I was going on, and you'd just like, all right, here's a shovel, you know, or here's the hard work, and then you would watch and you would come, you need some water, and it was like, wow. Why is this man sitting here wasting his time to give us a water out of, you know, all the things he could be doing with his day? He's making sure we're good. And you would sit with us, talk with us, lift the mood, and just direct us. You were stability. And you'd put us right back on track. So for me, not having a older father figure around, my mom's husband, great guy, but just wasn't able to, and is not able to fill those, you know, hey, I'm not going to go rake with him. You know, I'm not going to go build things with him. It's just going to be a relationship I build and be cordial with it. But for you coming into my life, I kind of felt that presence and those, yeah, you just had an aura about you. Like, hey, I care. And we didn't know why you cared. I didn't know why you cared. A lot of the other workers that we saw you scraping us off the ground, we didn't know why you did it. We still don't. I mean, I just know you're a good man. And as I got to know you more, I saw the experience and just the breadth of knowledge you have in every field. And I remember talking specifically about art with you a lot. Art. Hey, Danny, what do you think about this? And I was like, okay, art was one of my favorite subjects, and it's still carrying through. And we would just converse on the small things, the small talk. And I got to know you in the way you wanted me to know you. And it was always a good thing. It was always something that was directive or complementing a better lifestyle. And I knew you had shared some stories with me. And
the human connection, which is what my book's about to a certain degree, and in my journey through life, and with your journey, we are all connected with human beings, and the technology seems to separate that connection.
precisely.
It's like Mark, I was talking to Mark about it, and it's kind of interesting. Our tech right now was in the Marines with you.
Yeah.
Mark,
a lot of it.
Mark was in the Marines but he went on a separate path.
Yep.
Administrative or whatever, and you went on the battle path. But when I'm sitting there thinking about this human connection, when you think about your life and you think about how the interaction with people, technology does not give you opportunities. People give you opportunities.
Right.
And your skill levels of the human connection and being able to communicate and be able to transfer that confidence has basically brought you to this point. So like maybe I was a little help to get you to your next level.
Yeah.
And now you are a homeowner. You have 6 children. Tell us about that. How did the other 2 come along?
All right. So at my lowest points, I had just left Redwood with you, and I was going into more construction. I was like, you're like, hey, you're way more successful doing construction. Can you do this all day? And then we'll put you in the restaurant when we really, really need you. I was all down for it because I was learning real skills. The social aspect and the social arena, amazing. But I needed something to carry forward. And you saw that in me. So pulled me heavily into the construction. I went from...
It got to a point where we were working you more in construction and you couldn't do the night job because you were beat up at the
Absolutely.
end. Yeah.
And you had provided a truck, a bobcat, a trailer, all the equipment, a warehouse.
And we were working on different projects.
Oh, God. Shout out to Bob's guys right now, working on all his projects. I know what it feels like, gentlemen.
I'm never without a project.
Yeah, never. And that was one of the things, like I said, that stability and that continuity of moving forward. No matter what was going on, hey, we got to tear up this concrete and re-pour it. All right, move forward instead of get stuck on why that happened. It was always moving forward. And when I was leaving the restaurant and doing more construction work, I began to feel like, okay, hey, I have a sense of purpose now. Like I'm finding something I can be good at. And I remember trying to figure out how I can start my own company. I remember asking you several times, hey, and you gave me
But I think
advice.
I encouraged you.
I gave me great advice, and I just realized I wasn't there yet. And so trying to figure out my jobs when I went to the hazmat arena. I was staying out of town a lot. My life was changing. I had been divorced and I had found a new girlfriend.
But your family,
yeah,
your children were just pulling at you constantly, weren't they?
Yeah, and that's when
you realized
out of town,
I fucked up.
Yeah, and so came to a point where at my lowest, I was just looking for anything to keep me sustained. There were mental and emotional and historical scars that were all colliding at one point. It was just like a meeting point, and then not being home again, going out
on these like week-long cleanups.
And then some of the traumas that were being brought back up just from some of the things we would see or talk about, it was just a rough patch. And I remember my girlfriend's dad at the time was like, hey, she's having her birthday, we're gonna go to Mexico. I was like, all right, cool, let me know how much the tickets are. And he's like, you're not going. And I was like, oh, time out. And why is this so surely decided I'm not going. And it wasn't a big conversation. It was just like, hey, like, check yourself, dude. And I was like, all right. So try to think from a dad's perspective why he would do that. And I was just like, he doesn't like me. I had all these other internal struggles going on at the time, and as they're off in Mexico on a cruise and enjoying their life, I'm dead alone, sitting in my house wondering what my life's going to be like. And I just remember I had nobody. She couldn't even answer the phone. And I hadn't spoken to Jasenia, my ex-wife, in a few years, quite literally no contact, no visible stuff. And so I call my kids' house phone, and my son answers. He's like, "Oh, hi, Dad, blah, blah." I was like, "What are you guys doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just sitting here with Mom." And I just go, "Hey, say hi," And when that was the first, it was kind of like a little jab, like a say hi, it was, we hadn't had any conversation, and it was kind of a sour like thing to say hi, after all these years of animosity that had built up and separation. And she knew I was living with another girl, was trying to settle down. And instead of being negative, she just goes, "Hi." I heard her. I guess I was on speaker, right? And I was like, "Hey, like, sorry, long time no talk." And she's like, "It's okay." She's like, "You're still doing good for the kids, picking them up every chance I got." And she was understanding, like, hey, maybe things aren't meant to be. And in that gap where my girlfriend was gone, I was just like, let me go drinking a few times and go see what, I can get out there and find social interaction, because I would work and come home, and being lonely at home was always a problem for me. And eventually, Jasenia drops off the kids, but this time when she drops them off, she just, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was like, I'm all right. And she's like, "How are you really doing?" And she could see like there's something going on my face, I was happy to see the kids, all this, bring them in, but she just talked like she recognized after all the years she had spent with me when something's wrong, like deeply wrong, and I had felt that loss of connection with so many things. And when I said, "Hey, well, if my girlfriend's gone, what am I going to do in my life if she just decides to leave me when she comes back?" And I just remember when I go to drop off the kids, Jasenia had came out, and it was early in the morning, and she's like, "You want a coffee?" She gave me a cup of coffee, and I was like, "Thank you." I was like, "Thank you for, not being mean and supporting me, and being supportive versus any other way." Those relationships usually go baby mama drama, baby daddy problems, all these things you can hear. And it was just more support. And we had got to talking when, instead of the kids picking up the phone immediately, she just picked up the house phone one time, and we just talked. And it was just a turning point for me, like, hey, I still have support here even after all these years.
Were you shocked?
Absolutely. Like,
so she had matured too.
Yes, absolutely. And
you had both gone through really rough patches. Supporting those 4 kids.
Yeah.
For her,
ton of them.
Was stressful.
Yeah. She was working at Stanislaus Food Company in the office, and doing what she could to make ends meet. And I was paying for a rental house that the kids would come over to. And it's a struggle. The struggle was real.
Yeah. So, I'm so humble that you're willing to talk about these deeply personal things of your family. But so many men your age, how old are you, by the way?
I'm 36.
So you're still so young, that have gone on this journey and are trying to mind their way in America. And make it go. And America still has a dream. You still have that American dream, but it's not easy, is it?
No, it's full of sweat, blood, tears, and extremely happy moments.
But now you're with your wife. You've had 2 more children.
Yeah, so I ended up having a child with my girlfriend Ariella. Amazing woman. She's a teacher, kindergarten teacher, does great with kids. And that's one of the things when my kids would come over, that was my way of vetting girlfriends, how they did with my kids. And she was very understanding and very calm, cool, collected. But it was that struggle that I felt with the relationships that were in her life and how I was trying to mend them and build bridges into the family. That I said, like,
a lot of complicated shit going on with Danny
so
Tabera,
much,
huh,
man? Yeah.
man? Wow.
Yeah, so much, man. And
But
so,
you've made your way through it.
yeah, just pushing forward. It's time doesn't
So when
stop.
did you decide to remarry?
This was in May again
Of this year?
Yep. And our lives crossed back again. It was actually a lot of struggles. So it's so much more struggle. Before we get back to that remarried point, I had a daughter with Ariella and a daughter with Jasenia. I had Lumi Ray and Jalen Love. Jalen Love came from Jasenia and Lumi came from.
So how is
Ariella.
your relationship with Ariella now?
It's great. Friends and co-parenting. She's always been.
And the kids
solid
get
in
together
that.
with your daughter and no
Oh
problem?
yeah, they Ariella and her husband Nicholas, great guy. They come over all the time. When we're having parties, they come to our parties. We enjoy each other's company.
That's fantastic.
Very like-minded, and there's no animosity. It was a maturing thing. I learned from Ariella had gone through her dad had married somebody else and her mom married somebody else. So she had gone through a non-nuclear family, or what you would call it, split family, or
Yeah.
I forgot what the term is, but
Blended family.
blended family. There we
Blended
go.
family,
Beautiful
yeah.
term. And coming from a nuclear family myself, my father dying and being married for my mom since they were kids, I never understood how that would work. I always had these complications like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. And being raised very Catholic, it was also like, hey, we got to find forgiveness and do all this. But Ariella helped me learn, hey, we're all humans.
Now, what other jobs have you done by the hazmat?
Other
that
than
was
hazmat?
it. And then from there, was the next job you have now after hazmat?
Yes.
So then that was
no,
how did
there was 3
you
jobs.
did the line worker thing where you were climbing poles?
Yeah. So when I left hazmat,
So you bullshitted those people that you knew how to climb.
no, so when I left hazmat, I was like, okay, I knew I was looking for another job. And so I had told my family, hey, I'm going to be looking for another job. I'm going to be quitting hazmat soon. It's a great thing. It's just
The travel is, the whole thing.
well, so many different aspects. I could have stayed in the office clicking and making phone calls and answering and customer service and taking, random people's calls. Hey, do you guys do this, do that? But it was just time for me to move on. And I knew there had to be something more with construction I can do. And so I let my family know. And my brother-in-law actually said, hey, I know a guy, he builds cell phone towers. I was like, that sounds pretty cool. He's like, are you scared of heights? I was like, no. He's like, cool, I got you a job. In the same thread, in the same day, right when he read it. And I was like, okay, let's see. So then this guy calls me like 10 minutes later. Hey, you looking for a job? Yeah, who's this? This is Alan, Adam's brother. And I was like, Adam has a brother named Alan? He's like, no, but we're like brothers. And he's like, I got you a job. When can you show up? And I was like, it was a Tuesday. And I was like, when do you need me? He was like, can you be there tomorrow? And I was like, oh, cool. So he pulls me on. He's the foreman of a cell phone company. They went build from the ground up, everything from city utility disconnects, building the pad, erecting the whole thing, putting the antennas up, the whole 9 yards.
Is that traveling though?
More traveling, but it had
The money was super good.
money was good at that point. So going from busing to working with you to hazmat to the cell phone towers, my pay had only increased, and I promised myself it would only increase no matter what. And I wouldn't take a job that would pay me less, and I would have to continuously provide for my growing family now. So I take the job, I show up, and it's even mouthier and more machismo on the job site, because these guys, it's 5 dudes building a cell phone tower, 100 feet, 125 feet, dragging up cables. Okay, hey, we don't have a lift that'll go that high, or it's not accessible by lift. So we're going to go climb all that stuff up. We're going to pull it up. We're going to use winches. We're going to do the whole 9 yards. And it was super technical. So that kept me very interested. We're lifting up 200-300 pound cables, 100 feet in the air, and latching them on by a little collar wrapped around the cable, and crazy things could happen, but the views were also beautiful, early in the morning, just like how you would have us on the property or on the job site. Boom, sun's up, guns out, sun's out, guns out. And I would be sitting on top of a tower 150, 200 feet high, just looking around. Like,
how long did you do that?
Another 2 years. So it was really weird, because it was 2-year stints since I reenlisted. It was like a 2-year stint at the division schools as an instructor.
And then after 2 years, you meet a guy.
Yep.
And this guy tells you that you need to be a conductor.
Yeah,
on a train. Now, how did that happen?
Yeah, in the middle of the book.
When you called me and told me that, I go, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? You're going to be a conductor on a train punching tickets?"
Yeah.
Now, where's that happening? That's happening in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah.
In the train that goes between San Francisco and the peninsula, or what?
Yeah. So the San Francisco Peninsula, from Gilroy to San Francisco back and forth, is Caltrain, and I've been blessed to have been brought into that.
So you got hired in there.
Yes.
As a conductor. And when you went onto that job, I told you need to learn how to be an engineer.
You did. I remember that
and you just rolled your eyes. You go, what the heck?
Yeah. That's why I text you, because I was like, that's a pipe dream for me. Like, that's so far down. I've been at Caltrain for 2 years, 4 months now, I think. And they don't offer engineer positions to anybody. No, it's a very thorough vetting process. They're very professional. They want to make sure they're choosing the right candidates. I don't know how they caught me, but I've made it through. I got my offer letter on the 18th of this month, so like 4 days ago.
When do you start training?
In October, late October. Yeah, and
so we've gone on this conversation that's going on to almost 2 hours.
Oh, nice. All right.
And we've gone through your life to this point as a young man, 36 years old, how you served your country, how you've had ups and downs like anybody in life that's making their way. You kept a positive attitude through it all. You've met amazing people, and now you've been offered the dream job to be a train engineer, which will be, I'm assuming, your last job. Maybe so, maybe not.
I'm not closing off my horizon. I'm keeping it broad and wide open.
Most people would think that.
Yeah, it's definitely
most people would say, dude, I'm not screwing this up.
Yeah.
I mean, the pension, the whole drill. But I think me knowing you now, it'll run its course too. And, because the thing is that driving that train back and forth, and you look at it another 20 years doing that, I don't think that you're going to be able to do it. That's just me.
Yeah. I've considered that.
But right now it's off the hook good.
Yeah. I've told myself, as a conductor, I'm happy. And I'll check tickets, customer service, open doors.
You have a lot of interaction with people on that job.
Very social interaction.
And your people skills come to play there, I'm sure.
Yeah. all walks of life. You have people from foreign countries coming in, San Francisco airport. They take the BART to Millbrae Station, and then they get on our train like without a ticket, or asking all these questions. And you have to understand these guys, they're not even from around here, and you're the first impression they have of somebody that's gonna spend some time with them to help them get along their way.
How does it feel to have Governor Newsom as your boss?
He actually came. I was honored to be part of the inaugural train launch for the electric trains. It was Gavin Newsom. We had Nancy Pelosi, and a lot of other politicians.
Did you scrub yourself in the shower after that?
Oh man, I scrubbed myself before because I was.
I'd have been before and after.
I was very anxious and nervous because there was a lot of optics zooming in on this one moment that was pivotal for the entire peninsula.
Yeah,
and I just thought it was such a great thing.
Yeah. Now the thing is, the trains are all electric.
Yes, for the most part.
And you will be like on the job training inside the cabin of the train. I'm assuming you don't have a train school. I mean, how does that happen? What's your education going to be going forward?
So it's going to be a strict regimen of 3 to 4 weeks of all classroom time, and then for the next 6 months, I'll be training under whoever will take me. So there's a whole range of engineers. I believe I can choose some of them.
You can choose, or they choose.
It's both. I can give, hey, I would like to work with this guy. And they're like, well, you're also going to work with this engineer or this woman. And it's just several different factors to take into account. But yeah, for the next.
What's the schedule of that train? Does it run? It doesn't run all night too.
Well, there's 96 trains that go.
96 different engines?
No, not engines.
96 different routes, or
yeah. So a train, an engine or a consist is what makes up the train, like physically. So it's going to be a locomotive and a controlling cab car, or two. For example, for the new electric trains, beautiful Stadlers, coming from Europe. Beautiful streamline, like Star Trek style.
Rubber tires?
No.
But they're very smooth.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. In that sense, very smooth. Leaps and bounds beyond the old legacy equipment that were made out of diesels and chugging up and down the railways. But these the training is just going to be 6 months sitting there with another engineer who's had years of experience watching and dictating my every move and understanding how I can be like that person, knowing where the ultimate challenges comes, because that job in itself is also challenging. It's not just driving. There are safety considerations that take into place. And then there's a lot of unfortunate events like strikes happening. So a train can strike a vehicle.
There's train by suicide, right?
That is
suicide by train.
Unfortunately, very common. Yeah, especially in.
Have you been on a train that's happened?
No, not myself personally. I have,
but it has happened on your run.
Yeah. There's some wild statistics out there. One of our crossings is one of the most lethal in the United States. In like the later months, where it's the fall, we have Thanksgiving and Christmas and some surrounding the holidays. There's a
more prevalence did that occur.
Yes, a lot of intentional walkouts to the tracks and trying to get struck and in their lives.
Now, have you had any incidents in as a conductor that you've had to quell down or something where there was a problem inside the train when it was moving?
Yeah, that happens all the time. You
like what?
Millions of people in that peninsula and from all walks of life. Sometimes it'll be something as simple as somebody's getting on the train with a bike, and that bike's not supposed to be in that car. It's supposed to go to a certain car. Simple things like that to, hey, my child was left on the train. I got off the train, my child didn't, or my child got off the train and I didn't, or my child hopped on the train. Yeah. And so there's, we're human. We make mistakes, but we look out for those things, and we're trained very keenly to be aware of what's happening on the platform and the train. So, there's all kinds of things that can happen. Fights that can be between passengers, arguments. A lot of crime will happen. There will be people that can come on, steal other people's stuff, or agitate other people. Sometimes police activity will occur where we'll have to hold the train, and the police will have to escort somebody off because they're being disruptive, or even worse case scenarios, fighting or pushing or spitting.
Just the general population.
Yeah, general public, and a lot of great people on there just trying to make their way, and we're trying to help that occur without incident. And the incidents.
So for the listeners that have listened to this fantastic exchange and just learning about Danny Tabera, we're gonna close this to a close. Is there something that we haven't talked about that you think we should share on this exchange?
Just remaining grateful through all the trials and tribulations. You had said, hey, you're always smiling. And that, to me, goes back to my father and my brothers in the Marine Corps. My father was always like, it could be worse. My father was homeless after his dad died. He dropped out of school and went to work in the fields at the age of 6 in Gilroy. And he said, you could always have it worse, son. My father didn't graduate high school till he was 43.
He did fine.
Yep.
So is there a closing message that you like to tell to the viewer? If it's a fellow Marine or a young man that's struggling in his marriage that has to turn around, or anything, any advice that you could give to a young man on his journey in life to where you've gotten to this point? Because I think that you're going to be a mentor to others going forward now. And
I appreciate that,
it's so inspiring to see how far you've come. What can you tell the viewers or fellow Marines on the struggle doesn't stop, but you can make it, dude?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep pushing and follow your heart. And when your heart's torn into pieces, look for other people whose heart is not, and ask them what they should do. Find advice, seek advice,
that's so true.
Seek guidance.
And feeling for others and their emotions, and realizing that we're all in this together, and having a good heart and trying to help others is what I've tried to do. I've tried to do that. I'm not a perfect person in any way, shape, or form, but when young men come into my sphere of influence and I can give them a job, or I can make them, and to have this type of an outcome, it makes me so proud of you.
Thank you.
That I had a small, very small part in that. And you're an example, Daniel, to the American public of what America stands for. And I thank you for it.
I appreciate you very much, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you. So there you have it, folks. A young life, an American life, and one to emulate. I'm Bob Campana. It's Danny Tabera. Catch us next time.
Thanks for listening to Get Back to Work. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to rate and review the show. It helps more leaders like you find us. Be sure to check the show notes for resources and links mentioned today. Until next time, get back to work.